Understanding the Law of Attraction and How to Get What You Want in Life by Using It. Chapter 1. What is the Law of Attraction? The origins. The basic definition. The Law of Attraction is both a very straightforward concept and in some ways a very complex one. Simply put, the Law of Attraction is an expression of the idea, like attracts like. Apply this statement to life, the ways of the world, and the Law of Attraction evolves into a philosophy. You need to focus your thoughts to get what you want in life. If like attracts like, you need to train your thoughts to draw the things you want into your life. The broader application. The Law of Attraction is a New Age and New Thought philosophy founded upon a metaphysical principle. It's a concept deeply rooted in both Western and Eastern philosophies, and it's gained considerable popularity in the first years of the new millennium. Based on a range of ideas developed during the 19th and 20th centuries, the Law of Attraction focuses on the significance of thought, the quality of thought, its direction, and its manifestation. Like most New Thought philosophies, the Law of Attraction proposes that there are creative energies in the world. The reasoning behind the Law of Attraction, the belief that thinking about something you want in a focused and deliberate way can actually bring that something into your life, operates on the principle that the creative energies in the world can somehow be manipulated by man. The Law of Attraction is rooted in the general and much broader philosophies of the New Thought and the New Knowledge movements. New Thought, background knowledge. Well, New Thought and the New Thought movement developed in the United States late in the 19th century. The philosophies and teachings were inspired by Phineas Parkhurst Quimby of Maine. Although he didn't start any movement of his own or even actively campaign for one, Quimby is generally acknowledged as the father of New Thought. Called Park by his friends, Quimby was an inventor, a scientist, and, for his day and age, a mental health professional. The focus of his attention for much of his professional life was the philosophy of the mind, the nature of the mind, mental events, mental properties, and the whole notion of consciousness, which he considered to be affected by dualism, the existence of conflict between the benign and the malign. Quimby believed that the mind was spiritual matter, that man exists outside of himself, and that the mind and body were two different natures that interacted with one another. The origins of the Law of Attraction can almost be seen in the notion that Quimby had about mental and physical diseases. Both types of disease, he said, were the result of bad reasoning. As a professional working for 8 years and treating over 12,000 patients, that disease was not the cause of illness, but the effect of a conflict present in the mind. Although Quimby's studies and ideas were generally contained to the field of medicine, from them stemmed a range of philosophical and religious ideas relating to the role of the mind in the universe. The mind is a form of energy independent from the body, exerting its own type of influence upon the world. At least 9 religious denominations have emerged from Quimby's ideas: divine science, religious science, the universal foundations of better living, and the Unity Church. Again, what these religions have in common with the Law of Attraction: they all adhere to a general notion that there is a spiritual matter or energy, and that there is some conflict between positive and negative energies. New Thought religions generally adhere to the pantheism belief system. In many respects, New Thought religions were really more philosophies than religions, even to those that followed them. The general notion put forward, and the Law of Attraction picks up on this, was that an immanent presence existed in the world. The presence is generally referred to as the mind, universal presence, or life, although there are some other terms used also to refer to it. The presence is, in many ways, a notion of God. At least it has the same capacity as a divine human-like element. New Thought does not, however, attempt to limit the definition of the presence. The general conception, the universal presence, as it is the primary basis for all interconnected reality. As the Law of Attraction allows, New Thought, and most of the other philosophies originating from it, sought to convey the idea of growth and development of thought. The power of the mind and the thought were emphasized by New Thought religions and philosophies as they are by the principle of the Law of Attraction. New Thought practitioners are remarkable for their acceptance of the so-called endless transformation of creative energies and forms, and their simultaneous acknowledgement of the threads of history and the unfolding of creative thought. Although there is variation, New Thought religions and philosophies generally adhere to the following elements. Number 1. Belief in a deity. The New Thought movement generally accepts the presence of one God as a creative intelligence, omnipresence, and principal force, not a being. New Thought presents God as an impersonal force that manifests energy in all things. Number 2. The universe and life are eternal. The movement considers both the universe and life an expression of the creative intelligence of the universe, and they have neither a beginning nor an end. Number 3. Evil is the result of ignorance. New Thought supports that people make mistakes due to their ignorance of their own true nature as a perfect being. There is no original sin, no notion of Satan, and no other manifestation of evil as a force. Suffering results from ignorance. Similar to the causes of evil, New Thought religions and philosophies generally contend that suffering, when undeserved, results from ignorance of true nature. Undeserved suffering can end when an individual comes to a complete realization of their unity with the creative intelligence or God that created and controls and is the universe. Salvation is achieved by realizing individual unity with the universal mind or life force. For New Thought practitioners, salvation and healing are very possible through this realization. In fact, New Thought and the law of attraction play an important role in spiritual healing for mind, body, and life. There are many licensed practitioners who specialize in counseling individuals to achieve this realization and achieve salvation. Some people believe that Jesus shows the way to salvation in his teachings. Others believe that everyone will be saved by a benevolent God or creative intelligence. The vast majority of New Thought practitioners accept that spiritual awareness of God's omnipresence leads to personal salvation and will lead to the salvation of humanity as a whole when the awareness is achieved collectively. New Age background knowledge. Well, like the New Thought movement of the late 19th century, the New Age movement of the late 20th century was broad in scope, exerting a strong influence on contemporary Western culture and providing further support of the principle that the mind, as spiritual matter, can influence events and influence individual lives in a very profound way. At the same time, the New Age movement has been misunderstood by many. Its origins include a range of Eastern religions and philosophies, including spiritualism, Buddhism, Hinduism, shamanism, Taoism, and neo-paganism. However, the vast range of literature, music, and crafts that have emerged as part of the movement have somewhat distorted the scope of that movement that developed from these origins. New Age practices and beliefs are often considered alternative spirituality or alternative religion. Even apparent exceptions, such as alternative medicine or traditional medicine practices, often have some spiritual dimension, such as a conceptual integration of mind, body, and spirit. Another reason that New Age philosophies and religions are often misunderstood or misrepresented is the lack of a formal definition or definitive boundaries to define what precisely constitutes New Age thinking. There are no established elements to denote what are mainstream and fringe practices of the movements, nor are there any clear definitions of what constitutes the traditions of the movement and what constitutes New Thought within the movement. The closest one can come to an understanding of what actually constitutes New Age thinking is the acceptance that is a belief system based upon the notion of a spiritual journey being significant to the life of an individual and the life of the universe. Mystical traditions, including shamanism, neo-paganism, and occultism, have contributed to the movement in a fairly powerful way. The law of attraction branching from this movement certainly has a powerful element of mysticism relating to it. In the Western world, at least, New Age practices and beliefs are fairly accurately characterized as a form of alternative spirituality or alternative religion within the general boundaries of the Judeo-Christian tradition. For the most part, New Age thinking challenges the dominant organized religions of the West, particularly with the criticism that merely praying to God will bring about any changes in your life or the lives of others. It's also interesting to note the frequent use of the term New Age throughout history. Even in the book of Genesis, the term is used to describe the religion of Melchizedek, whose name translates in Hebrew to mean rightful king. Although opinion is divided on the character's precise importance, many believe he's an important ancestor and spiritual predecessor of Jesus Christ, who in the eyes of Christians was responsible for establishing a new order, a new church, a new age. The problems defining the New Age movement began to take a whole new dimension. Another example of New Age being used in a context not remotely related to the spiritual movement is within the European Renaissance. Literally, a time of rebirth, a time of renewed interest in the classical civilizations of the ancient Romans and Greeks, the backwards movement in art and literature to the ancient philosophies and ideas was defined as the beginning of a new age of thinking. Most significant, however, and almost most distorted to a correct understanding of the New Age movement of the late 20th century was the contemporary usage of the term New Age by the primarily American mass media in the 1980s. The term was used very generally to refer to a whole range of so-called alternative spiritual subcultures, including the practice of medication, channeling, and holistic medicine. Ideas put forward relating to reincarnation, psychic experience, environmentalism, pseudoscience, and anomalous phenomena were all considered New Age and advertised as such to the public. The concept that New Age relates to the paranormal, such as UFOs and crop circles, was certainly put forward by the media. The New Age movement began as a subculture in the early to mid-20th century. It became a fairly powerful presence during the 60s and 70s, its roots established in the practices of spiritualism and theosophy, which in turn have their roots in the New Thought movement of the late 19th century. Here are some of the most common New Age beliefs described. Although followers of the New Age movement don't necessarily subscribe to all of these ideas, they are generally accepted as the standard beliefs of New Age followers. Everything in the universe is spiritually connected. All humanity, all life, and every single element of the universe is all part of the same energy, commonly recognized and referred to as God. Spiritual beings exist. Angels, ascended matters, elementals, ghosts, and space aliens, to name just a few, are considered to exist and be very useful guides when people are ready and able to accept their assistance. The human mind has the power to create its own reality. A very important notion for the law of attraction is that which identifies the deep levels and vast powers of the human mind. Some New Age thinkers believe that the mind can override physical reality. In a sense, this is what's believed to happen when someone practices the law of attraction successfully. An important qualifier? Well, the power and influence of the mind is nonetheless subject to spiritual laws, such as karma, which is the principle of cause and effect. The generations of children born in the last few years, particularly those born after the millennium, have more highly developed spiritual power than earlier generations. Every individual has a purpose on earth. Everyone on earth has something to contribute, and, perhaps more importantly, has a lesson to learn. The most important lesson for a New Age follower is the lesson of love as perhaps the truest and most binding force. Death is not the end. New Age philosophies generally contend that death in this world begins and brings about life in a different form. Among the various ideas about death, some believe that the afterlife doesn't feature any form of punishment. Most New Age philosophies contend that the afterlife is intended to teach us lessons, possibly through experiences such as reincarnation, or even in the form of near-death experiences. The general belief surrounding death is that it is part of the process for self-discovery, designed to bring us closer to understanding our true nature. New Age philosophies look to intuition, sometimes referred to as divine guidance, as a better guide and a better method for decision-making than the more scientific or logical approaches, such as rationalism, scientific skepticism, and scientific method. Most New Age practitioners believe that Western science should give more weight to fields such as parapsychology and holistic medicine. Many also believe there should be more scientific validation of practices such as meditation to promote health and, in some cases, cure a range of diseases, physical and psychological. A mystical core within all religions, Eastern and Western. Dogma and religious identity are not so important. The Bible is a wise and holy book. Many, although by no means all, New Age followers accept that the Bible contains many important truths. Some say that Jesus was an Essenes, a Jew who followed a particular religious life, combining mysticism to some degree. Others contend that Jesus traveled to India in his youth to study Eastern religions. Others say that Jesus was a later avatar, incarnation, or bodily manifestation of the Buddha. It's generally believed that feminine elements should receive more attention in order for there to be a renewed spiritual balance in the world. Many New Age practitioners believe that the focus on masculinity created by patriarchal movements, ancient and modern, have severely undermined that natural balance. Meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, Reiki, and other Eastern practices are important to the development of the mind and body for spiritual wellness. Science and spirituality are believed to be one and the same by most New Age practitioners. They aren't considered to be in opposition to one another. New scientific discoveries, such as evolution and quantum mechanics, are thought to support spiritual principles rather than undermine them in any way. Mathematics and the language of nature can reveal the true nature of God. Numerology in the Kabbalah and Gnosticism is highly significant. Human beings have a responsibility to promote positive creative activity. We should work to heal ourselves, each other, and the planet. The food you eat affects your mind and your body. It's preferable to eat fresh, organic, and vegetarian food. Ideally, foods should be locally grown and in season. Raw food and sprouted seeds have a particular spirit-enhancing quality. Fasting can promote higher levels of consciousness. Ultimately, every interpersonal relationship has the potential to be a helpful experience. People learn about themselves through their relationships with others. Relationships allow us to see what we need to work on in ourselves and where our strengths lie. Most believe that we are destined to repeat relationships, or at least relationship natures, if necessary over many lifetimes, until we are able to heal them and ultimately achieve spiritual wholeness. Certain geographic locations emit special energy, which may be male or female in character. Certain locations around the world are believed to have special powers of healing. Many have been identified by world religions, such as Jerusalem. Others are considered to be places for healing by indigenous native people. Most New Age literature suggests that rocks and crystals have special energies, often considered to be psychic energies. Many believe that they have a special power to aid spiritual processes, such as meditation and healing exercises. There are no coincidences. Everything has spiritual meaning and spiritual lessons to impart. Nothing is left to chance, and wherever you are at a particular time is where you need to be. There is always something you are supposed to learn from your experiences. The mind has hidden powers and abilities that are spiritually significant. Dreams and psychic experiences are ways in which our souls express themselves. A positive attitude supported by affirmations will achieve success in anything. There's a cosmic goal. Most New Age practitioners support the idea that everything in the universe is working towards a common goal. Most believe our objective is to bring the collective consciousness in line with something along the lines of a cosmic destiny or reality. Certain dates and times have a special significance. This new millennium is a time of great transformation for the earth and human consciousness. Other important dates include 1986 and the harmonic convergence, and either 2011 or 2012. What can the origins teach us about the law of attraction? In recent years, the law of attraction has become the latest trend peddled by self-help gurus. The most popular application of the law, perhaps not surprisingly in the consumer-driven economy, is the acquisition of money. A general search for law of attraction on any search engine produces a whole host of results related to achieving wealth. When you understand the origins of the law, it's clear that there is so much more to it, so many more applications and ways to benefit. Chapter 2. Understanding the Law of Attraction. By itself, the law of attraction is simple. At least it can be expressed very simply. It's covered by the statement, like attracts like. At the same time, we must really accept this if we want to exert some control over it. It's not really enough just to say simply that like attracts like. It's important to understand why we're saying that. Why does like attract like? That's the big question. Well, in both New Age and New Thought philosophy, there's a force in the world, a creative intelligence. Another way to look at it, there are all sorts of specific forces that impact particular things. There's gravity and electromagnetic forces, for example, both of which are elemental in nature, and they seem to operate both automatically and as a part of the natural order of the universe. There are also forces that human beings are essentially unable to define. We just see the effects. For example, there's a force that causes seeds to grow in the ground, a force that causes human beings to age, even one that causes a human egg to become fertilized to create new life. There's a force that exercises a power over new life, whether it's plant life or animal life. The forces identified by New Age and New Thought philosophies thus have certain powers. Many followers of these philosophies believe that certain mystical powers exist within all things, objects, peoples, animals, you name it. A popular notion is that these powers are transferable, primarily through physical contact, but also through sensory perception and general proximity. It's also thought that these mystical powers can thus be depleted or increased within one little element, a person, for example, depending on the particular situation. Some believe that fate and esoteric practices have a part to play in shifting powers. Regardless, power can be physically observed as an aura or even as a psi energy. Some traditions view energy as the central force. This is primarily a New Age concept found in the alternative health branches of the movement like therapeutic touch and Reiki. There are also some broader ideas about energy that suggest flowing streams of power in Earth, like ley lines in Britain and Europe, and Earth energies addressed in the Chinese geomantic system of feng shui. Yet, another important notion is that of the spirit. In New Age theory particularly, all beings are accompanied by a specific intentional energy that corresponds to their consciousness. This energy remains in some form after physical death. One other concept to consider is holism. This is the idea that everything in the universe or cosmos is interconnected in some way and in many dimensions, such as space and time. According to the law of attraction, you attract into your life whatever you think about. Your dominant thoughts will find a way to manifest themselves. Now that we have considerable background knowledge of the issue, we can begin to understand why this attraction is present. Attraction in the universe. The reason the law of attraction is reasoned to exist, every individual being has a range of forces and energies about them, and these are aspects of the individual soul. But most people, when they think about attraction, focus on the idea of being attracted or having an attraction to something. Some have identified the general perception of attraction to be associated with individuals you wish to be like or emulate because you identify in them certain qualities such as beauty, intelligence, or wit. Although this attraction does not directly relate to the law of attraction, thinking about it puts us on the right track. Attraction is a very powerful force. The idea of attraction is often misunderstood because our understanding of it is so limited. Scientists contend that the power of attraction is one of the four fundamental interactions in nature, but few people are aware that this thinking gives attraction significance outside of the general scope of relationships between individuals. Attraction is a power in nature that affects absolutely everything in the universe. This is how we need to start thinking of attraction if we're going to understand the law. Newton's law of gravitation tells us that every object in the universe is attracted by every other object. One of Einstein's theories spoke of the attraction created within the space-time continuum. He also said that the attraction that objects had for one another is their very reason for existence. According to this theory, none of the celestial bodies would have been formed were it not for the power of attraction. Unfortunately, scientists don't know enough about attraction and its role in the universe to explain everything. The laws developed by Newton and Einstein only apply on Earth. The earlier theories in particular don't even serve to explain a whole range of phenomena seen outside of the Earth's atmosphere. Everything from the bending of light in the universe to the motion of the stars relates to the law of attraction, but not in a way that modern science is yet able to understand. Scientists are struggling to explain why there is so much order in the whole universe. According to both Newton and Einstein, at least based on their understanding of attraction, stars should be moving away from each other in all different directions. The universe should not function as a whole entity to the degree that it does. It's clear that what we don't know about the laws of attraction within the wider universe amounts to an explanation for the underlying order of the universe that's been maintained for billions of years. Of course, there have been plenty of attempts to explain the problem. One of the most compelling was brought forward by a scientist named Fritz Zwicky in 1933. Now, he made some headway explaining the attraction and behavior of stars, proposing an unseen material in the galaxies called dark matter that prevented the stars from moving off in all directions, as they apparently should, according to Einstein and Newton's calculations. Well, Zwicky thought the presence of dark matter would help to explain why the planets remained fixed in their orbits, as indeed it has. But understanding of attraction is still very limited. The power of attraction is a great mystery. It's a mystery not only in terms of its effect upon the stars and planets, but also in terms of how it specifically impacts people's lives. The most obvious form of attraction affecting people is desire. Whether it's desire to enter into a friendship or desire to enter into a romantic relationship, for a relationship between two people to begin, there's often an irresistible quality of attraction overpowering every other impulse and desire those two people have. But spirituality, not science, tends to explain the attraction between people. Spiritual traditions have explained much more about the power of attraction than traditions of science. The principal reason for this? In human relationships, the power of attraction is so closely related to the power of love. Some of the most profound understanding of the universe revolves around love as the central governing power. Unlike the power of attraction, love is often identified by spiritual teachers as an enduring power. While the power of attraction tends to gradually reduce its power over a relationship, love can keep two people together for longer periods of time. Love sustains relationships that may have been established by attraction. In the physical world, objects are often attracted to one another by different and shared qualities that, when united together, bring about a balance of sorts. The bonds formed are often short-lived, though. An object can form a bond with another object, only to then be attracted to a third object, breaking its bond to the first. It sounds odd, perhaps, but in a way the power keeping objects together, the power that holds the enormous galaxies together, is considered by some scientists to be similar to what we call love in human relationships. It may be a lot more than just the power of attraction that exerts force on the objects. There may be a force and energy at work that science will never understand. One of the problems of our current understanding of the universe and life is the general separation of science and spirituality. Love is far from being the kind of explanation that science wants to have. It seems too flimsy. New Age philosophies have, particularly with their extensive medial play, developed a fairly negative connotation. Yet modern science's refusal to look at the larger picture, to attempt to understand the nature of the dark matter that seems to hold the universe in place. A wider vision of reality is needed, one that is reflective on the totality of things. Now, this begins with an individual's understanding of the power of attraction and love in their own lives. Chapter 3. Applying the Law of Attraction. When you begin to understand the law of attraction as a force closely related to love and as an energy that affects the entire universe, well, then it's time to begin trying to affect the law's application in your life. There are at least 4 primary areas of life that people like to control: careers, wealth, relationships, and health and physical well-being. In this section, we'll look at how you can apply the law of attraction to achieve what you want for yourself in all of these areas. Careers. When you want to succeed at work, the first step to doing so is visualizing that you can succeed. This is actually easier said than done for most people because your career requires a huge amount of effort and it occupies a huge amount of time. At the same time, there's a conventional separation of work from all things spiritual. Most people actively disassociate spirituality and spiritual awareness from their working lives. Work is about making money. It's about the survival struggle everyone is in. Careers are demanding, and most of us don't associate spirituality with any activity or area of our lives that creates this kind of stress. Precisely the opposite. We actively use our time outside of work to relax and even meditate. Yet, this is a flawed approach to achieving a successful career. Instead of focusing on your career as your means of surviving and making money, you need to start integrating spirituality into your work because a career is about more than just a job. A job gets you money. It allows you to survive. A career is a progression or an increase that brings us toward a greater level of success in our work. To become successful at work, you need to become more spiritual. It surprises most people to learn that some of the most successful career-minded individuals are also the most spiritual people in the world. Many of the most successful people, from actors to general business people, practice a very advanced degree of spirituality. Spirituality is what tends to fuel a person's desire to have a career, and, moreover, it's what tends to fuel their success. The first step to applying the law of attraction to improve your career begins with recognizing that your career requires spirituality. Disassociating work from spirituality undoubtedly attracts negative things into your life. You need to begin to focus on the things about work that you enjoy. Learn to accept things and to be grateful for the way things are. The objective initially is to bring more joy and happiness to your career as part of your life. An abundance of this positive energy will then help you to move on and improve your career prospects. Concentrate on the following: ending the bad habit of negativity, saying things like, I can't, shouldn't, won't. Think about expanding your fields of consciousness. Look to apply your awareness of the spiritual world to every aspect of your life. Make the spiritual effort become a daily practice that you apply to your career. One of the most fundamental aspects of applying the law of attraction to your career involves the ending of destructive thinking. Most people are not conscious of it, but many are dead set against money and careers since, for example, money is the root of all evil in the general psyche. Many Americans associate corporations and the government as forces out to exploit people for power and control. Business and the actual process of making money are often set in a bad light by spiritual people. The Eastern traditions often emphasize the importance of being unattached to wealth and success so that many people understand the intentions of corporations or millionaires who are in possession of great wealth. You have to start accepting that having a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean that there is going to be an attachment to money. The famous proverb is indeed misquoted. It's actually, the love of money is the root of all evil. Certainly, that makes a difference. Money itself is not the enemy at all. Many of the world's richest people become great philanthropists, and their contributions have helped to solve enormous problems all over the world. Having power and influence means you have the opportunity to be a philanthropist as well, drawing positive attention to the things that are important to you, encouraging others to reach out and to do so. Most people want to be wealthy, or at least comfortable, so they need to overcome the negativity towards material wealth and success. It's our attitude towards wealth and power that creates the attachment that many religions warn against. Because most of us don't take the time to think about this, we fall into the pattern of negativity towards money and success. It's very often misunderstood and often leads to destructive thinking. A lot of people believe it's necessary to be poor or even unemployed to be spiritual. This thinking is based on a complete misunderstanding of what causes attachment to money. Many people have believed that Jesus lived in abject poverty, although there is little evidence to support it. The result of this thinking is a reverse egotism. People start to believe they are better than the rich and successful, simply because they don't have any money or success. As time goes on, the less fortunate people become happy in their lives. The rewards they imagined that they would receive for their commitment to poverty don't materialize. Most often, people become angry at the world when the root of their problems is really their own negative thinking, targeting the wealthy and successful. It's negative to imagine a future where everything falls apart for the rich and successful. It's not the way to secure positive things for your life. An important lesson: attachments of the ego take place in all areas of the world. They affect not just the rich and successful people, but also those of us who have less money and who are not in positions of power. Certainly, a career can become the means of abusing powers and exploiting the less fortunate people. The less fortunate can also use their positions to harbor bitter and resentful feelings. In their own way, they can be manipulative and exploitative. The key to a positive impact of the law of attraction is constructive thinking. Turn your career into your spiritual quest. It's the perfect place to set up your spiritual workshop. It's an area that requires a great deal of time and energy every day. It involves almost every spiritual principle. Even if you're starting out at the very bottom, you can make your career into an intensely spiritual and rewarding pursuit. In time, you will have better jobs and a more productive career, bringing happiness and joy to your life. Why are careers a positive thing? Everyone needs a job of some kind, not only to make money, but to feel productive. The simplest or the most complex jobs are equally fertile ground for spiritual practices, and the key to long-term success is not in the particular job, but your approach. The most important thing is to work on you. This is constructive thinking, and it lets you use your time more productively. When there's not an important task immediately at hand, focus your mind on the present moment and simply experience your own inner consciousness. If you do this consistently, you will widen the attractor field in which you find yourself, bringing about greater opportunities. Many spiritual enthusiasts think that avoiding the details of life is a positive thing. They think spirituality is associated with keeping things simple, but they should live simple lives and ignore the details. Keeping life simple is an essential spiritual principle, but paying attention to the details of life is also a part of it. Looking at the details doesn't mean you should be afraid of them. The details can, in fact, be delightful to consider. You just need to be selective about what you consider and, more importantly, how you consider it. Urgency is something you should avoid feeling because this suggests that things aren't exactly as they need to be. One of the first things you should accept is that the universe has not been created incorrectly. This is a negative idea that only feeds the flames of discontent. Develop confidence that everything is happening for a reason. Similarly, you shouldn't worry about recognition popularity. Just rewards will eventually come to you. Details that consume never help to accomplish anything worthwhile in the end and only make us overlook the important details. Most people try too hard to control the wrong things and cause the more important details to elude them. The golden rule to improving your career is to experience the joy and happiness in your life. Once you've learned to look for spiritual truth, you will begin to find it in every area of life. A sunny day will be seen in the same way as a pile of mail at the front door. You'll learn to appreciate the beauty of both. If you manage to calm down in every area of your life, you'll attract more positive energies. You'll begin to see great opportunities in the pile of mail at your door instead of worrying about the number of bills and the size of each one. The details of life provide us with a great opportunity to experience beauty and joy if we approach them with the right attitude. If you worry and fear, your life will reflect your fears and worries back at you. If you are joyous and grateful, the details of life will express these more positive ideas instead. A wider success in your professional life will eventually come from what first seemed like an unimportant detail. With time and practice in positive thinking, success will become the rule instead of the exception. Wealth. Very closely related to careers in the modern world, money is the single most common reason people give for having a particular job. On the other hand, it's an extremely simple explanation. On the other hand, money doesn't buy happiness. At the very least, it's less than adequate at bringing complete happiness in people's lives. The reason most people are so hung up on money, there are always bills to pay. Yet the need or the ability to pay the bills is insufficient reason to obtain joy and harmony in a particular job or career. Even the most successful people in the world only experience real happiness and a strong purpose in their job when they involve themselves intimately in their job performance and make some kind of alternate contribution, either to the larger purpose of the company or to themselves. Money may play an important part in this larger context, but other factors, such as improving the quality of life, also play a factor. Donald Trump has expressed the importance of money in terms of a scorecard that tells me I've won and by how much. He is one of the most successful real estate developers of his day, more associated with wealth and money than even the richest man in the world, Microsoft giant Bill Gates. On several occasions, Trump has explained where his happiness comes from. It doesn't really come from the money, but from the business deals themselves. Trump obtains his joy when making the deal. Securing a large amount of money is a byproduct of that deal. One of the most important elements of a successful career is big thinking. The bigger you can think, the greater your professional and financial success will be. Many spiritual advisors and teachers observe that a person's common problem is not that they can't achieve goals, they don't set proper goals in the first place. Setting the right goal is a very big part of achieving. A goal is a dream that includes a specific deadline, and the more detailed the goal, the better. When you set goals for your career and for your financial success, your goal needs to explain the elements that will assist you in your achievement. Daily habits are a great way to fill out the details of a realistic goal. One of the first steps is to match your work ethic to your dreams and ask if you are dedicated enough to carry your dreams through. The financial rewards are only one small part of a realistic goal. They won't typically work as a sole motivator, which is why a second step might be to realize the connection between financial wealth and professional success and satisfaction. Relationships. For the vast majority of people, personal relationships, whether romantic, familial, or platonic, provide the inspiration to get out of bed every morning. Relationships are often what inspire us to make an effort to improve our lives. They are the great motivator for people all over the world. The power of attraction is never more obvious than when two people are in love. It makes both eager and willing to always make an extra effort. The power in a relationship is also what fuels most people's sense of spiritual effort. It's generally the single thing that makes people the happiest and gives them the greatest sense of gratitude for the things in their life. Romance is one of the most powerful energies to affect humans. It's also generally the strongest inspiration for the pursuit of a more spiritual life. The power of love is the romantic ideal that is so intimately tied to our experience of love and the greater meaning behind life. Some of the most romantic ideas have been developed in art and literature. Romance is closely associated with love. It's a concept that often helps us to deal with the challenges we experience as couples. Love is always fraught with challenges. After all, two people don't automatically become immune to events in their lives when they fall in love, so romance helps us to express the challenge of overcoming obstacles in a more positive light. One of the more widely held beliefs about romantic love is that there is often randomness in the meeting of two people who form an attachment. The apparent randomness is eventually seen to have a wider significance in the more meaningful pattern of love. A common perception is that romantic love requires us to overcome obstacles in literature and art. The notion of overcoming obstacles to fully realize romantic love has always been a very popular theme. It's still the theme of many forms of art and entertainment in modern times. Popular culture, expressed in films and music, is rich with romantic love. While romantic love is still the dream of many, some claim that its presentation in the media is still not realistic. All in all, it's considered extremely rare and may not even occur at all. The modern dating practice has established sex as the only true goal of partners. A lasting relationship is almost never the objective or the result. Many people also contend that the rigorous demands of money and careers deprive people of the opportunity to experience the romantic ideal. The wider vision of love can never be realized. Modern statistics and the many observations of psychologists also paint a dim future for romantic love if we continue in the direction we are now headed. Although love is certainly thought to be possible, it's often represented in the mass media in an unrealistic manner. The media often presents love as a romantic fantasy rather than a higher level of spiritual awareness. The law of attraction, if it is to work at all to develop relationships, demands that we establish a new way of looking at romantic love to help us to find our true destiny and a lasting relationship. As the attraction to the higher levels of awareness intensifies in your life through a keener awareness to attraction, you will develop that means to hold a relationship together. Where love develops, it's believed that the power of attraction has somehow matured. It has changed from a powerful but potentially temporary connection into a lasting bond, a power that by some is believed to be eternal. The law of attraction is often applied to love and romance to suggest that the greater goal for couples and mankind is the establishment of universal and unconditional love. Many believe that loving couples establish and maintain this bond, not only between themselves but amongst people they meet. Growing couples learn to move forward toward an eternal vision of love by sharing their feelings with others. When two people decide to unify their lives, perhaps by living together, getting married, and integrating the various aspects of their lives, they are establishing a pattern that will be mirrored in the universe. Starting a family is perhaps the most natural progression for a couple in love, and it establishes perhaps the most unifying of bonds. Like the challenges they face in their romantic love, the challenges of children are often profoundly underestimated by most, regardless of age or experience or wealth. A mother and father have more responsibility than they ever imagined. This creates a high degree of stress for many couples, and arguments over how to raise the children are often at the top of the list of disagreements between both spouses. Children often take on very different roles from their parents. Most have minds of their own, and there really is no way of controlling them. When there are children involved, it becomes increasingly important to remember that we only control the small things, not the big things. Family members all have different versions of what's right for their lives, and part of being a family is being open to the individual differences within the unit. If the parents want a higher level of awareness in their own relationship with each other, they need to apply this to their children as new challenges are introduced to the family dynamic. Opposites do attract, but a family is successful at staying together only when there is an underlying set of values established to create unity. Family patterns and family structure have changed a lot in the past few decades, making it all the more advantageous for children to pursue positive and worthwhile values in their everyday lives. To constantly better the quality of a family relationship, parents should encourage their children to develop physically, emotionally, and mentally. They should learn positive values that are related to their health, learning, creativity, and exploration. These may include the ability to trust themselves and others through the use of open communication and genuine concern. These attractive values help to contribute to the positive development of an individual, and they are essential to promoting a better quality of life. A child needs an individual sense of freedom, but should also learn personal responsibility and self-control. Activities that allow them to act independently and responsibly will encourage a greater attractiveness toward these values over time. Parents should allow children to make mistakes and then to learn from those mistakes. The children can learn to become involved in the planning and execution of their own future in a manner that promotes their own independence and personal responsibility. Citizenship is a high-level value that children can benefit from. It helps them to recognize the value of the democratic process and their own role as a citizen in a democracy. Parents should recognize their opinions, ideas, and values as these strongly affect the perceptions of their children. They will eventually affect their overall attitude towards their careers and work ethic. Learning to respect others is another of the most important values children can develop. It teaches them how to become attractive and to ultimately love another person. Respect is closely connected to responsibility. Responsibility to members of your family, to your partner, all of that is what makes relationships both lasting and loving. The first responsibility of children is to see their behavior has either a positive or negative impact on others. This will teach them to develop better relationships throughout their life. Teaching your child to enjoy life is perhaps the most positive and beneficial lesson you as a parent can impart. Realizing that every person's life will include adventures, surprises, and celebrations is important. It's something that children should learn to appreciate about their own path. Problems will exist too, but it's always better to see them as challenges to be overcome as positive learning experiences rather than permanent obstacles. When couples and families actively and consciously work to implement the many values already mentioned, and others such as courtesy, acceptance, compassion, and integrity, according to the law of attraction, the relationships between the individuals will become an attractive field of spiritual values where the members can thrive and grow. The law of attraction can be implemented in a positive way for both individuals and families so as to bring about a healthy style of living. Health and physical well-being. Another very common application of the law of attraction, and a very important one, is that which relates to physical health and well-being. New Age philosophies strongly emphasize the importance of caring for your body, and this is probably one of the most common applications for which people use the law of attraction. As mentioned, most people think of attraction as something related to personal appearance. A healthy body is associated with an attractive person. A healthy body leads to a healthy state of mind. Both are essential to the development of a positive spiritual approach. There are several areas of focus for physical well-being. The first area of focus is nutrition. To maintain a strong body, it's absolutely vital to maintain a positive attitude towards nutrition. When you are successful at this, you'll notice that your positive mind will attract more useful information. You'll find yourself learning more about eating correctly, and eventually maintaining your healthy daily eating habits will be effortless. It is very important to have a good diet to ensure the proper ratio of macro and micronutrients in the daily regimen. The nutritional concern will aid the body in its recovery process after a strenuous exercise and also maintain a general level of health and well-being. When you train yourself to eat less, you'll notice that you take a lot of stress off your body's internal functions. You'll find it easier to maintain a healthy weight over time, and you will generally feel better about yourself as well. This is just another example of the law of attraction at work. Physical exercise is another of the most highly recommended ways of achieving good overall bodily health. Although the focus can be on various athletic abilities, it's equally valid to undertake a regular physical exercise, such as walking. Regardless of the particular type of exercise, it's been proven time and time again that physical exercise is paramount in the prevention of many diseases, such as cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and obesity. There are 3 types of exercises: flexibility exercises, aerobic, and anaerobic exercises. As we learn more about each form of exercise, more opportunities will be presented to improve and widen horizons in the exercise world. Flexibility exercises include the stretching of the muscles and the joints to improve flexibility, while aerobic exercises such as walking, running, and swimming to increase cardiovascular endurance. Anaerobic exercises include vigorous muscle exercises, including weight training and sprinting, designed to increase the strength of muscles. Physical exercise helps you to maintain a healthy weight, healthy bones, muscles, and joints. It also promotes overall physiological and psychological well-being, increasing the strength of the immune system, preventing the need for surgery and other invasive medical procedures later in life. Exercise has been proven to aid in proper brain function by increasing the flow of the blood and oxygen. It also increases the growth factor of nerve cells in the body, increasing the chemicals that are needed for cognition. The act of breathing during exercise also helps to increase lung capacity and oxygen intake. Your heart will become more efficient, having to do less work to oxygenate your muscles. As you learn to breathe consciously during aerobic exercises, you will also promote the overall efficiency of your respiratory system. All of these things work together to promote further advantages to overall health and to give even greater opportunities in the future. 2 particularly beneficial types of exercise are yoga and meditation. These activities are ancient practices specifically designed to tap into the energies and forces of the universe. They actively apply the law of attraction to increase physical well-being, and they are well worth trying and integrating into your daily routine. Yoga, an ancient Sanskrit term meaning union, is an ancient spiritual practice that began in India thousands of years ago. There are many forms of yoga, including karma, bhakti, jnana, and raja, but in the West, it's become associated with various postures and fitness exercises that lead to a more advanced form of relaxation. Yoga is a practice that adheres to the law of attraction. It advocates the development of expertise and gradual familiarity with the most advanced forms of yoga. These more advanced forms are practiced as deep meditation and the ultimate experience of samadhi, or enlightenment. This is the ultimate goal of yoga. As a way of achieving enlightenment, yoga is considered an essential part of both Hinduism and Buddhism. Traditional techniques incorporate stretching and breathing exercises. They often include moral and ethical principles and a spiritual philosophy that is effectively an expression of the law of attraction. Meditation is a specific part of yoga. It involves the turning of a person's attention inward to the workings of their own mind and thoughts. Many practitioners see it as a great way to become a better person. A derivative of meditation, practiced in the Christian religion, is contemplation. The mind is encouraged to reflect on certain ideas to bring a more harmonious alignment with healthy attitudes and directions. By practicing meditation, people become better at opening up the powers of the divine, and these powers become even more attractive as they develop inside each person. Meditation is a great way to enhance the law of attraction in life. Chapter 4. Building on your knowledge of the law of attraction. Implementing the law of attraction in your life to generate positive results requires intense focus on self-improvement. While the law of attraction is, by itself, quite simple, and self-improvement, while intense, is also relatively easy to understand, the law of attraction still gives rise to some tough questions. Here are some examples of situations in which the law of attraction can only be understood in a very complex way. When people put out conflicting intentions, for example, you and a colleague want to win the same promotion, but there's only one position available. If you both want it, and you're both applying the law of attraction to get the position, who will win out? When one person intends for the relationship to improve, but their spouse doesn't seem to care, and when someone is the victim of a crime, does that mean they intended it in some way? These scenarios seem to weaken the plausibility of the law of attraction. Plenty of people have gone out on pretty tenuous limbs to find satisfactory answers. Some have claimed, for example, that a person who experiences abuse somehow intended or earned it in a past life. Another popular and tenuous conclusion is that some people are just born lucky, and others are born unlucky. Both answers, based on past lives and luck, are cop-outs, attempts to dodge the real problem. The best explanation offered by law of attraction experts is subjective reality. If life is based on subjective reality, then our individual notion of everything is right. Subjective reality suggests that there is only one consciousness. We all have our own subjective reality in which the only force, the thing that controls everything, is our own mind. In subjective reality, yours is the only consciousness. Everything you see and experience is all about you and your perceptions. The most important thing, as you are the one in charge of your subjective reality, no one but you can have intentions. Even if someone else appears to have intentions, their intentions are really yours. You are supplying them and creating any conflict that exists. The whole notion of a subjective reality revolves around the idea that yours is the single consciousness in which the reality you perceive takes place. It's rather like dreaming, at least the experience of dreaming. While you dream, everything looks vivid and real. The characters may appear to have a mind of their own, but in reality, they're just your projections. The theory of subjective reality suggests that life is the same way. Physical reality, of course, works the same way according to the notion of subjectivity. The physical world is a denser universe, but this reality still conforms to your thoughts, just as it does in your dreams. So how does subjective reality explain the application of the law of attraction in all of these complex situations? When people put out conflicting intentions, for example, you and a colleague want to win the same promotion, but there's only one position available. If you both want it and you're both applying the law of attraction to get the position, who will win out? In this situation, you are responsible for not only your own intention to get the promotion, but for the other person's intention as well. The reality is yours, so you are the only intender. The internal conflict is created by your perception that you have a rival for a promotion. It is about you. You are the one that is deciding that two people want the same position. The conflict is yours, and it's also your intention that only one of the two will get the promotion. In your subjective reality, you are entirely responsible for what you experience and what others experience. Certainly, you can renounce control and intent randomness and uncertainty for every aspect of your life. But you can never give up responsibility. You're the sole creator in this reality. When you think about war, poverty, disease, whatever, that's exactly what you're going to manifest. If you focus your thoughts on positive things like peace and love, then these are the things you will experience in your subjective reality. Whatever you think about, you will somehow manifest in your life. This is basically why it's so important that you control your thoughts. Well, when one person intends for the relationship to improve but their spouse doesn't seem to care, how is this handled? Well, this scenario is another example of intending conflict. And again, it's about your projections, not only of your own intention, but of your spouse's intention as well. The result of your intending conflict in your subjective reality leads to the experience, subject to the influence of higher order beliefs, of conflict with your spouse. The simple rule is, if your thoughts are conflicted, your reality is conflicted. You should always assume responsibility for your thoughts. Avoid projecting intentions onto other people because this is exactly what creates the conflict. When a person intends conflict, division, and separation, that is what they will experience. Focus on the greater good. Avoid thinking of negative elements. If you want world peace, implement it in your subjective reality. If you want everyone to have enough money, if you want an end to poverty, then intend this in your own reality. This is the part of the world that you can control, and positive thinking will be the greatest contribution you can make. When someone is the victim of a crime, does that mean they intended it in some way? Again, and it's particularly true in this instance, you intend the crime by thinking negatively, by fixating on the issue. The victim does nothing. Whatever you think about, good or bad, expands into all physical reality. Chapter 5. Common Mistakes and Underlying Problems. An individual can never deny responsibility for their lives, although they will often deny it. The reality is, a person can give away control, but they can never give away responsibility. The focus of the issue is only on you. You can blame whomever you want for any or all of your problems, but you're the one who will experience the results of such negativity. If you want the law of attraction to help you, follow it. Instead of thinking about what you don't have and what you can't do, think positively. Don't dwell on the things you don't understand, the things that you can't do, that you worry about, that you hate. Don't focus on the things that cause you stress and anxiety, because if you do, you'll only accentuate the negativity. Anyone who talks or thinks in a negative way has not mastered one of the most fundamental principles of the law of attraction. You have to take responsibility for your problems. The reality is yours. The achievements and the shortcomings are yours. The law of attraction is very much under your control. Whatever you think about, you will bring into your life. The law is neutral. It won't differentiate between what you want and what you don't want if you're thinking about both. When you think about what you want, you get what you want. When you think about what you don't want, you get what you don't want. It's not about luck. It's about you. If you want to have good things in your life, positive things, it makes no sense to write, say, or think statements like I've mentioned, all of which are very negative. Even when your desires haven't yet manifested, remain hopeful and optimistic. The universe is what you're dealing with. Things take time. Despite this, you should pour on the positive intent and allow the law of attraction to work with you. Stay in the present moment and what your moods are. If you start getting frustrated or disappointed, take a walk or do a meditation exercise to nip those negative feelings in the bud. For the law of attraction to work, you need to accept responsibility for the things in your life, good and bad. Whatever you give your attention to will expand, so be careful, and above all, be conscious. If you can learn to be conscious about how you think, the law of attraction will help you bring the things you want into your life. The way to stop thinking about what you don't want is to accept responsibility for attracting it in the first place. You will raise your consciousness if you manage to achieve this and take responsibility. You will become more successful at applying the law of attraction to get what you want. If you go to dinner with your significant other and you end up having a disagreement, admit that you attracted the situation with your thoughts, unconsciously intending in perhaps by remembering a previous unpleasant outing just as you were leaving. Maybe you spotted the first signs of a disagreement and began to worry about it escalating. However it was, you gave thought to a negative situation and thus activated it with the law of attraction. Remember, too, when you accept responsibility for something, you also accept the power to change it. With a little bit of practice, you can consciously put more energy into thinking about what you do want. Some of those negative thoughts will still pop into your mind, but you can drown them out with positive alternatives to keep negativity in your life in check. If you can imagine a pleasant outing with your significant other, if you focus on the positive outcome, then that is what you're going to have. You keep your intentions positive, and you'll notice almost magically that the event itself is delightfully positive. And what happens if we deny responsibility for what we're experiencing? What if we decide that something else, something undefined, is causing all of the problems in our life? When we assign blame for things in our lives, trying to negate our own responsibility, then we become powerless to change our own reality. If we start to focus our thoughts on negative things we're getting, we unknowingly activate the law of attraction to continue bringing us yet more negative stuff. Our situations will never change if we always think about what we've already got. We've established a loop, a pattern, that's fundamentally never going to change. If your life is filled with what you do want already, then you're fine. Here are common mistakes made by beginners. A lot of beginners believe positive thinking is enough to get them what they want in life. Positive thinking on a conscious level is great. Affirmations are great, and they do help, but the crux of the matter is that most people use various forms of positive thinking on a conscious level, only to cancel out those thoughts on a subconscious level. Telling yourself, "I'm healthy and full of energy," when the mirror says otherwise, will send your subconscious nuts. Subconsciously, you'll be saying, "No, you're not," and this subconscious rebuttal will be highly charged with emotion. It's generally a very powerful attractor. The advice is to work on your subconscious thoughts and be real careful how you use conscious thoughts like affirmations. Don't expect things to happen overnight. When some people learn about the law of attraction, they often imagine they're simply going to make their list of desires, design their reality, and then pow, as if by magic, after a couple of days, weeks, or even months, they're having what they want. People think this. Then, after a couple of days or weeks, they start to question. They wonder why they haven't received what they've asked for, when in reality, they didn't ask for a thing. They didn't trust in the law. They tested it, then became impatient when the universe didn't deliver on their time schedule. What people don't realize is the enduring presence of resistance. This shows itself through your expression of impatience. Don't plan how the universe is going to bring you what you want. You will only imagine so many scenarios when the universe, being infinite, can come up with, well, an infinite number of possible outcomes. When you decide to use the law of attraction, don't try and figure out how your desires will manifest. The law works because you let it work, but your conscious mind is limited. The nature of the universe is infinite. Focusing on one particular outcome for your goals is going to severely limit you, except that the how, when, and where is totally out of your control. Don't micromanage. Don't try and second-guess every little event in your life. When you start trying to control everything around you and allow yourself to get frustrated, your emotions are likely to take over. Most people give up on the law of attraction or any other kind of self-improvement regimen, for that matter, as soon as they get to the point that they don't trust in what they're doing. On some level, there's a basic lack of trust that the law of attraction actually has a scientific basis. If you have absolute trust and faith in the law, then what you want will come to you as quickly as possible, and you literally will not have to give a second thought to the way things appear, to the external reality in which you exist. Try to address your own limiting belief. Everyone has a stock of limiting beliefs that created the reality of your life that you are looking to change with the law of attraction. Everything around you is affected by what you believe and by what you feel. Most people attach specific emotions to their beliefs, and it can be difficult, not only to isolate the beliefs, but to correct the emotions associated with them as well. If you want to manifest a large amount of money but feel deep down that you don't deserve a lot of money, then the feeling you don't deserve money will immediately negate your attempt to manifest money in your life. These negative feelings and subconscious thoughts will actually repel what you want. If you want to overcome this problem, you need to learn to release your negative feelings and emotions. While you need to learn what mechanism works best for you, there are several common releasing methods you could try. One of the most popular methods is the Sedona method. The Sedona method teaches you how to let go of unwanted emotions that are obstacles to what you want in life. The method has been in practice for several decades now, and there are many courses and books you can dig up to learn the method in depth. The basic process is outlined in the following practice. This is one of the many techniques featured in this method. First of all, you need to focus on an issue that you want to overcome, something you want to feel better about. You don't need to actually feel or focus on the issue too intensely. The idea is just to identify it and then hold it in your mind. The second step involves asking yourself a number of questions. You need to tap into how you feel about letting go of your problem. Can you let the feeling go? Could you react differently to the feeling? Could you allow it or welcome it? This part is about understanding how you feel. You need to find out whether or not you feel it's possible to let go of the issue you're concerned about. When it comes to giving an answer, it's acceptable to say either yes or no. Even if you don't think you're ready to let go, you may still manage it. The key is to not allow yourself to obsess. Don't try and second-guess yourself, and don't even fall into debating your feelings. The next question to ask yourself, when am I ready to let go? One of the most common responses to this question, now. This question is designed to encourage you to let go even if you're reluctant. For maximum effect, you should repeat this process several times until you feel you've really overcome that particular feeling. Obviously, there are a lot of methods you can try. This is only one. The best course of action is to read more about this releasing method. Try it out, keeping an open mind. If you don't think it's working, move on to another method. There are plenty to go around. Emotional Freedom Technique. The so-called EFT technique is specifically designed to target imbalance in the body's energy system. The basic principle of this technique is that negative emotions are caused by bodily imbalances. The negativity builds up over time in the following sequence. You experience something negative and feel negative emotions in response. Your negative emotions disrupt the normal programming of your body. The body's energy system is disrupted by your feelings, and a cycle of imbalance is established. EFT suggests that dealing with a negative experience is not enough to overcome its effects. You need to restore the energy balance. The EFT technique requires you to hold a disturbing or negative memory or emotion in your mind. Keeping it in your mind, focusing on it, you then use your fingers to tap on 12 specific points of the body that are believed to correspond to meridians that are used in Chinese medicine. Tapping the meridians while you focus on the negative emotion is thought to restore balance to the body's energy field. This technique has been used for some time to create and treat conditions such as anxiety and phobia. The longer you practice the law of attraction, the more you study the process, and the more you apply it in your own life, the better it will work for you. At the end of the day, if you decide to embark on this road to self-improvement, you're not only going to learn an entirely new way of thinking and an entirely new way of behaving, you are going to teach yourself to break a lifetime's worth of bad habits, thought processes, and behaviors. This takes time and shouldn't be rushed. The best advice is to take your discovery a step at a time. Savor the experience of learning something new and so profound. Take responsibility for your successes and take responsibility for your failures. The rewards will be considerable.